Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Hope everyone's having a good Thursday so far. We'll get started here on the webinar titled Unboxing Drupal 11, What Makes It the Most Incredible Drupal. And my name is Colin Body, Director of Partnerships over here at Drupal Partners. We're joined by Karthik, our CTO. Today's agenda. So we're going to start off with the journey of Drupal so far. After that, we're going to get into what's new in Drupal 11, the key features and use cases, how to plan your Drupal 11 upgrade. And after that, we'll have a little Q&A conclusion with some free goodies for y'all.
Sounds good. Thanks, Colin. So this is Karthik. Good afternoon, everyone. And once again, welcome to the webinar. And this webinar is being recorded, so we'll also be sending you the recorded link after this call along with the presentation. We also do a Drupal 11 readiness audit, which we will be, we'll be discussing at the end of the webinar today. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to put it on the chat. We have muted everyone joined. So if you have any questions, please add it on the chat. We'll respond to it as quickly as possible. Okay. So having said that, we'll get started with the webinar here. So first, we are going to discuss about the journey of Drupal. We assume that most of the joined here are, using have experience with Drupal in some format. They have a Drupal website, or they are developers, or they are trying to, learn about Drupal. So Drupal's, the story of Drupal started in 2001. So it's a journey from Drupal 1.0 to right now it's Drupal 11.0. The active version of Drupal right now is Drupal 10. So Drupal 11 was recently launched in August 2024. So some important dates to remember is like we are just focusing on the last 4 to 5 versions of Drupal. So Drupal 7 end of life is still, it's still an active version, and it's going to be the final sunsetting of Drupal 7 is going to happen on January 5, 2025. It has been, the end date has been extended for a couple of times, and we think that this might be the last end date. They are no more going to extend the end of life for Drupal 7. And between Drupal 7 and Drupal 8, they have done a major architectural change, which is like shifting the website or rebuilding the website again from the beginning. And from Drupal 8, it's all like updated versions that are happening in the current setup. So Drupal 8 has already made its end of life on November 2021, and Drupal 9 is end of life is November 1 2023, which is also already, they've stopped supporting or making updates to Drupal 9. And Drupal 10 is the current active version of Drupal, and its end of life was not yet announced. It was recently, it was launched like last year, and it is expected to be up and supported till the next release, which is Drupal 12. Okay. And the Drupal 11 was released, as I said, like last month, August 2024. And the next big version of Drupal, which is going to be Drupal 12, which was planned to release on mid of June 2026. Okay. These are some important dates to consider to plan your Drupal upgrades in future. And now let's dive in deep to on the actual content of this webinar, like what's new in Drupal 11. So Drupal 11 was built on the strengths of Drupal 10. So it has many powerful features, giving the developers, content creators, or site builders with more flexibility in maintaining their digital, content and experiences. And we are going to talk about the key features that Drupal 11 was built upon. Okay. I'm sorry, I think I got a request. Sorry for that. So the first thing is like Symfony 6 support. So Drupal 11 was built on Symfony 6, which has been Drupal has upgraded from Drupal 10 version to Symfony 6 version. So Drupal 11 was built on Symfony 6, which is a major upgrade from the old version Symfony 4. Which was used in Drupal 9 and previous versions of Drupal 9, and Drupal 10 also used Symfony 5 up to a certain upgrade, and now Drupal 10 is also using Symfony 6. So this Symfony 6 framework offers more performance improvements with additional new features and a long-term support. Okay, and it is also a more modern PHP framework. And so the next key thing what we are observed on the Drupal 11 kind of upgrade is the administrative backend. So the new experimental navigation in Drupal 11 is very awesome. It moves that admin UI to the next level. So it basically moves the navigation to the left side sidebar and provides a more modern Drupal admin experience. It also allows experimental navigation module, which is redesigned which was redesigned from the old classic toolbar. And for starters, this administration toolbar renders faster on backend and also on the front end pages, so that you can get to do your most important tasks much quicker and more efficiently. And permission management was also made easier with the current Drupal kind of quick filter and find the right permission to adjust your task on hand. Okay. And the next thing is like the single directory component for UI component creation. So this was earlier a contributed module that people were using for combining the components into a single directory. So now this is part of the Drupal core itself. It is no more you no more require a module to achieve this feature. With everything you need for your component in a single directory, components are now it's going to be easier to find and can be reused on the site at different places. Okay, so this helps the front end developers work much more easier, not adding an external module to achieve the single directory component feature. Okay, and Drupal 11 has also updated its access policy capabilities. So with this API supporting the implementation of access granting, and it goes beyond the traditional permissions and user roles. So you can start creating more conditional based, rule based permissions. For example, if you want the users to take like employed with two-factor authentication, or whether you wanted to set a limit for password wrong passwords that are being entered, the activity rate limit. So you can do lots of access based rules and policy enablement on the Drupal 11 site. Okay, feel free to put your questions on the chat. And the next feature what Drupal 11 has achieved is it made the decoupled navigation much easier now. So it already made the decoupled navigation easier in the earlier versions of Drupal with the front end JavaScript with more rendering it for more front end JavaScript applications. But at the previous versions of Drupal, the navigation was a little difficult, and so it was when the developers have been complaining about that. So that problem has been resolved by the addition of a dedicated endpoints using the link set standard to help simplify navigation between content elements in a decoupled scenarios. So this also makes the front-end developers to consume menu data in order to render navigation instead of hard coding it. Okay. So it also helps the non-developers also can manage the applications without writing much code. More of a codeless kind of a development is what is the focus for this decoupled navigation process. Okay. And debugging and cache control. So modern Drupal has new features for developers to optimize their workflow with, especially with Twig. So with a simple tick, you can, potentially unlock many debugging tools in Drupal 11. So it adds more clarity to your development process, allowing you to pinpoint and resolve issues, much easier than ever before. And developers also have control over their caching strategies with the additional do not cache markup option. That is what you're seeing here. This checkbox enhances your control over caching mechanism by disabling like render cache, dynamic page cache, and Drupal page cache. So enabling these features gives developers a true development representation of your work. Free from layers of caching that can mask immediate effects of your tweaks. Okay. So better authoring editing support with the CK editor file. So in the CK editor settings, you can see this code block button, which has been improved, which has been released with more improvements. It is now possible for the developers to configure specific programming or markup languages that it should display on the CK editor file. So the content modeling and management is also made much easier. So with it is making it easier to create consistent content models. So the text fields can now enforce a specific text format, streamlining the experience for content editors. Okay. It has also created a unified entity revision editing experience, so which makes prior versions of content easier to manage regardless of whether they are in a content block or a node or an entity type. And also it helps the bulk functionality operations much easier, so users to launch actions on multiple selected content items quickly. Okay. Any questions so far? Sounds good. So I'll move on. Drupal 11 has also enhanced the taxonomy features. So taxonomy now provides a visual UI that can be used to view or edit or delete revisions. It is also now possible to apply a content moderation workflow to your taxonomy terms. Okay. So another key feature is the block management. The block management is also made more flexible in Drupal 11. Site builders can now create custom blocks directly under structure in the administrative interface. And they can also create more granular permissions to manage blocks by type, revisions applied to block content, and can be reviewed and rolled back if required. It also includes the power to show or hide blocks based on response statuses. For example, like success or access denied or any other not found statuses. So you can either hide or show the blocks based on the response statuses. Okay. The next key feature is Drupal 11 has also created a stable workspace to stage content updates. So it is allowing users to prepare and stage content updates all at once. So content owners can work on alternate content updates, such as for example, if you are updating a sporting event results, you can publish new content requirements to multiple pages on the site at a single instance. And so the review is also, you can review it at a single place and then publish the content. So it is much the workspace, when also like when multiple users are updating the content, these workspaces enhancements are going to make the content writers work much easier to review the content moderation wise. They can review and publish the content much easier. Okay. And to help track the performance of the core, this is an automated testing framework called Gander, has been part of the Drupal core now. So earlier, it was not part of the Drupal core. Now it has been added to the Drupal core in from the latest versions, from the last versions of Drupal 10. So this module allows you to monitor the performance to ensure, any unknowing reintroductions of code or any other module updates have impacted the core module performance. It provides you with a dashboard that visualizes key metrics, so you can easily check this dashboard and fix issues based on the data. So it is an extension of a standard functional test, which will additionally collect in addition. It will also collect additional, in performance metrics during the page life cycle, and it also provides data about the core web vitals. Vitals like time to first byte, largest contentful paint, first contentful paint. It gives you lots of information of the page life cycle and health. So based on that, performance actions can be taken by the developers. Okay. Any questions? Sounds good. Let's move on. So now let's talk about, so those are the key, major upgrades that have happened on Drupal 11. Now we are going to talk about some other additional features, especially the recipe kind of a program, that has been launched in the latest DrupalCon in Portland with the Star Shot program. So like, so they have created a composable site building with new recipe API. So what does it mean is to solve the limitations from previous Drupal install profiles, and to create more concrete site building process. They've introduced a concept of recipes, which includes automated site building steps that can be combined and which will not linger onto the site when they are applied. For example, if you're creating a blogging site, or if you're creating a e-commerce site, or if you're creating event management site, there are going to be, for blogging, there are going to be a separate recipe APIs which you can utilize, which will provide you with all the required components, dependencies added, modules added to that recipe APIs, so which can you can then practically use it and start developing using it as the base, so you no need to rebuild everything from the scratch. Okay, let's say you want to streamline the process required to facilitate a event sign up process, right? So a recipe could help you get all the right modules and configure them for that specific use case. Recipes reduce the site building requirement, eliminate the need to download individual modules, and promote any composable components. So that's the goal of, I mean, this is still an evolving kind of a, it's in a development process, but I mean, lots of contributors have already started contributing to this recipe Starshot program. So Drupal 11 still contains support and uses install profiles by default. But this is going to, down the line in the next releases, you will see more effective recipe components that will be released on the next versions of Drupal. Okay. And then the menu creation process has also been simplified in the Drupal 11 process. So it makes easier to create child menus, menu items directly, while simplifying menu item editing. So that you can create more key elements that are needed to build websites. Okay. And JavaScript modernization, this has been a continuous improvement, in all versions of Drupal that's happening. So in Drupal 11 also, the JavaScript modernization has happened. They have replaced some of the jQuery UIs with more modern JavaScript components. So now Drupal developers can leverage the JavaScript file minification to make it easier to develop without additional steps. Okay. So it also provides with pre-zipped size reductions of file up to 2/3 of their initial sizes, and also it removes the comment section, the white spaces, and extra parentheses automatically. And so currently, using contributed JavaScript minification modules will be re-evaluated, and most of these functionalities are going to be added on the course aggregation process itself. And the next part is like the file and media management is also made, it has been improved. Like for example, the media entities have also received support for revision editing, and now the default image styles that on Drupal have been changed from to WebP. The Drupal core now uses WebP as the default, image style, and which will definitely reduce the images sizes by roughly by 25 to 50%. Okay. And Drupal 11 has also introduced enhanced lazy loading capabilities for better user experiences. So through BigPipe, that's a technology behind this lazy loading, Drupal enable web browsers to dynamically fetch more page information after loading the initial page. So as from Drupal 10, I think it was 10.1, BigPipe supports interface with a delayed content strategy. So this helps reduce page reflows and streamlines the user experience. Excuse me, sorry. So Drupal 11 also offers improved core code performances. So basically, like a lot of effort has been put on the Drupal 11 for improving the core code performances. Okay, lots of contributors have extensively contributed and streamlined the code for to make the core functionalities and performance improved, including the security aspect, not just the performance aspect. So in many instances, like with the codes have been rewritten to make it more efficient, and all the codes that are depreciated in Drupal 10 have been completely removed now, and this definitely will help reduce the confusion the developers have, especially in the redundancy in the Drupal APIs. Okay. Additionally, when you're running an upgraded application on PHP 8.3, it's much faster as well. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. Okay. I received a question from Jason. Is Drupal 11 same framework like Drupal 10? Drupal 10, earlier versions of Drupal 10 were using Symfony 5, and I think it's after 10.2 or 10.3 they have introduced Symfony 6. So Drupal, if you're using the initial versions of Drupal 10, you will be still in Symfony 5, and the last versions of Drupal 10 and Drupal 11 are all moved to Drupal Symfony 6 framework. Okay, thanks, Jason, for your question. Okay. So yeah, I was talking about the core code improvement on the performance side, and the next they've also, as I said, right, Drupal 10 or all the depreciated code have been removed from the previous versions, making it more efficient and easier to maintain. So, but the Drupal developers should need to ensure their custom code and contributed modules are also updated to remove any depreciated functions. When you're making this upgrade, please make sure not just the core has been taken care by the Drupal contributors, but the custom modules that the developers have written or the contributed modules, we have to make sure they are also updated to remove any depreciated functions. Okay. So lots of API first capabilities have been introduced on the Drupal 11 core itself. And so Drupal 11 offers full support for PHP 8.2 and also for PHP 8.3. So it leverages the performance improvements, security enhancements, and modern features. So of these PHP versions can be utilized in Drupal 11 core itself now. Okay. Any questions so far? Great. So the last part is already Drupal 10 have been supporting more than 255 languages, and they have improved that standard, and also the enhanced workflows for translating content has been also improved, and to manage the localized versions of websites much easier. So it is also a continuous improvements happening in those areas, but compared to the previous versions of Drupal 10 and 9, the workflow as well as the number of languages that needs to be supported have been we've been increased tremendously on the latest versions of Drupal. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Any questions? Okay. Let's move on. So to sum up, right, on the key features, this was a note from Dries, who was the founder of Drupal. So he compared the Drupal 11 version with a Swiss Army knife. So it excels in many things, which we discussed. I was trying to explain those things in this presentation. It's fully accessible, headless, which is a decoupled approach, and composable, API first, low code, no code. That is the kind of a goal. So traditionally, the major issue that has been talked about was Drupal is more for enterprise level and mid level. So in the next versions of Drupal, they are trying to make it user friendly, more easy to create content with low code kind of a capabilities, making it accessible for even for smaller and mid kind of websites. Okay. And AI powered, kind of, this is a kind of on the content side, this is another kind of area that lots of contributions and researches have been happening on the Drupal side. So hopefully in the upcoming versions we can see more AI powered capabilities on the Drupal core. Okay. Okay. So how to plan your Drupal 11 upgrade? So this is the last topic we are going to see today. So technically it depends upon what version of Drupal that you're currently using. Okay. If you are new to Drupal, you can directly start with Drupal 11. But to our with the current release just released in August 2024, with our kind of analysis in the Drupal 11 right now, Drupal core is ready, but we don't see lots of contributed modules are ready, or yet to be ready for Drupal 11. So we recommend at least wait for another 2 or 3 months if you're starting to move anything to Drupal 11, because most of the contributed modules have not yet been fully compatible with Drupal 11. So that might happen in the upcoming months. We expect that to be happening by the end of this Q4. So mostly by Q4, end of Q4, most of the key contributed modules like the Drupal commerce or major modules like that will be fully compatible to Drupal 11. I think that would be the right time to shift to Drupal 11. But if you're starting new, if you want to create a Drupal site, we highly recommend start doing that in Drupal 11 directly, instead of doing it in Drupal 11 or older versions of Drupal and then migrating to Drupal 11. Okay. You can also test your website in simply test.me. It is a public website to understand your current Drupal installation, and it gives you some evaluation on the Drupal level readiness. Okay. And if you're a Drupal 10 user, again, as I said, it's applicable for all versions of Drupal. So, first do a compatibility study of your contributed modules. So if you're using 10.3 or later, it's pretty straightforward. That, like, if you're using 10 to 10.2.x, as I said earlier, these versions are using Symfony 5 framework. So first you need to update it to 10.3, and then once you not just the core as well as the contributed modules, and make sure everything is compatible there. And then we recommend you to first you need to upgrade it to 10.3, and then we have to move it to upgrade it to 10.11, sorry 11, to directly to 11. So basically it's a two-step process. If you are in 10.0 to 10.x, you have to first upgrade it to 10.3, and then you need to upgrade it to 11, Drupal 11. Okay. And if you're a Drupal 9 user, there is no shortcuts here. You have to take like one step at a time. So first you need to upgrade it to Drupal 10 at a minimum, and then you need to upgrade it to Drupal 11. So there is again a two-step process. So during this process, you have to make sure, each step you have to make sure the contributed modules are also compatible. So the first thing is like you cannot directly jump from Drupal 9 to Drupal 11. So you have to, do a Drupal 10 migration first. The core you have to migrate, the contributed modules you have to migrate, the theme you have to upgrade, and then do a thorough quality analysis, and then repeat the same process from 10 to 11. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. And for Drupal 8 users, it's a three-step process. So if you have in Drupal 8, uh, so first you must upgrade it to Drupal 9, and then you have to upgrade it to Drupal 10, and then you have to upgrade it to Drupal 11. So it's a three-step process. Okay. So what is the cost for migration from Drupal 9? That is a question that I have received from Jason. It varies. It depends. We cannot provide a standard cost for any migration process, Jason. So first we have to understand your website. We need to understand the number of contributed modules that you have, the custom modules that you have, and then the data migration efforts are slightly required. So we also need to analyze the data. So all these factors contribute to the cost of the migration process. Okay, a typical Drupal 9 to 10 migration would take somewhere around, for a small to medium website, somewhere around 80 to 200 hours, manual hours. Hope it answered your question, Jason. Okay, thank you. Sounds good. So I'll move on to the next one. So the Drupal 7 users, we saw the Drupal 7 end of life is still January 2025. But if you're a Drupal 7 user, you no need to migrate it to the middle versions. You can directly take it to Drupal 10 because the underlying architecture of Drupal 7 is completely different from Drupal 11 or Drupal 8 or 9. From Drupal 8, the architecture pretty much follows the same architecture. They are following like object-oriented programming structure. So Drupal 7 was an old framework. So if you are using Drupal 7, you can directly go to Drupal 11. When I say directly, it's not a migration. We have to build the website from the beginning. So we have to take a fresh Drupal 11 installation. We have to redo all the configurations, customizations, that you have on the Drupal 7 side. We have to check for the compatibility in Drupal 11. We have to redo everything. We have to reconfigure everything, recreate your blocks. We use content types, entities, all the entity types that you have. Everything has to be recreated. And then we have to do a data migration of the entire website's data needs to be migrated from your Drupal 7 side to Drupal 11 side. It's land we have to redo your theme completely. So it's technically you're building a new site. Except for the data, you're going to migrate from the Drupal old website. Other than the data migration process, all the other steps are like, you're going to create a new website altogether. Okay. So that's applicable for you, not just Drupal 7, any versions that you are less than Drupal 7, if you're planning to migrate it to Drupal 11. Okay. Any other questions? Sounds good. So that concludes our webinar today. Hope we explained the key features of Drupal 11 and the execution or the upgrade process. Any other questions we can take today? Sounds good. Colin?
All right. Well, I guess that'll conclude the webinar. Thanks for joining in. We've got the QR code here for the Drupal migration consult and the Drupal audit for free. So just send us an email or just grab this QR code and we'll set up a good time for you.
Yeah, we can do a Drupal readiness audit and give you an update like how ready are your website for the Drupal 11 upgrade, a cost and a timeline estimate. Okay. Sounds good, everyone.
Right.
Thanks for joining.
Awesome.
Yeah.